Welcome back to the When Dreams and Action Collide podcast. I'm your host, Joy Lene, your productivity powerhouse. And I'm doing a little two-part series for goal setting this year called Review and Pursue. So in my last episode, I talked about the review part and how when we review and write things out, it helps us to understand where we have been and where we are right now. It actually shows you the starting point. So I encourage you to, if you haven't watched or listened to that episode, to go back and do that because it's going to be key for what we're going to talk about today, which we're going to move to the pursue part. So what is that? That is what our goals and our habits are that we're going to be planning to do and set for this year. So what I want you to do, again, take out a pen and paper or your computer so you can type your notes app on your phone. We're going to do a little bit more writing, okay? Now, this next step that I'm going to do is particularly new for me this year, and I just think it is so good. What I want you to do is I want you to think about and write out what are the characteristics or values that you want to portray or become this year, okay? This is just going to be like a simple, again, a brain dump. You can do a word, you can do a statement. Really think about the characteristics you want to become this year. Think about it this way. If at the end of the year you said, this is what I've become, what would you say? Okay? Think of that. I first actually heard this from Dr. Josh Axe. He wrote a book called Think This, Not That. And one of the things he said is you want to redefine success by becoming, not just accomplishing. So many times we look at what we want to accomplish, and that's okay. But if we think about more of what we want to become, then it's more lasting, it's more sustainable. Think of it this way. You could say something like, I want to run more, or you know, that could be your goal, or you can even set the goal of, running a marathon and do it. But how much more sustainable is it to say, I want to become a runner? Your mentality totally shifts. What's happening is now you're focusing more on the process rather than the destination, which is, there's so many studies that's so much better to focus on the process rather than the destination. And look, don't worry, we will get into what you want to do and what you want to accomplish because I believe both really do go hand in hand. But actually starting with your characteristics and values, it makes the process of setting goals and the habits and actions you want to do, it makes that process better to suit you, okay? So you don't want to skip over it. Anyone can say, I want to run more, but only a certain percentage of people are actually runners or defined as runners. I'm definitely not one of them. So after you've done this little sort of exercise, you might even start to notice a little bit of a pattern. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to help you to define the different areas of your life that you want to focus on. By doing this, writing the characteristics, you're going to be like, okay, what do I want to really set goals and focus on? So that moves us into the next part. And that's when I want you to decide and write down which areas of your life you want to focus on and set goals in. Okay? Now, I've talked about the areas that I personally set goals in. I have 7 areas that I focus on in my life, and that is my spiritual life, my family and marriage, work and finances, health and well-being, church and community, relationships, this is outside of my immediate family, and my recreation and fun. So I set goals in each of those areas. Now you can break these up however you want. You can split work and finances. You can chunk everything together and just relationships for everything, whatever you want to do. It's whatever you want to do. Remember, this is for you, whatever you want to do. Now, if you feel you only want to start with 3 specific areas, then I highly encourage you to do that. I would rather you start small and simple than really to overwhelm yourself, okay? So again, by looking at your characteristics and values that you've put down, you're going to get a better idea of what you want to focus on. You're going to notice a bit of a trend, and that's going to help you to decide what areas you want to do on. Now, I'm just going to do this little bit of a plug because I think it's a great tool to use. And it's by Full Focus, Michael Hyatt. It's called the Life Score Assessment, and this is completely free. It's where they outline 9 areas of your life. So yeah, they've broken up things into 9 areas. what you do is you take the assessment, and from it, it shoots out a little score and shows you where you're at on each area. So this is a great tool for, seeing your progress, but it's also a great tool to show you what you can work on. So yeah, I'll link that in the show notes. If you're having a really hard time deciding what I should work on, or, maybe what are the 3 specific areas I really should work on, maybe take this because it's very helpful. So once you decide on the areas that you want to focus on, I want you to write them out again, okay? But this time I want you to leave a little bit of space underneath each one of them, okay? And from there, in each area, you're going to jot down just some quick words or statements about each of those areas. Now, this might seem a little bit technical, but I did this year and I just felt that it helped me to dial in more on what I actually want to become, as well as what I want to accomplish. So some examples for me is like for the area of marriage and family, I just quickly wrote down, quality time, dedicated time, preserve energy. Because what I was finding is like, last year we wanted to, develop that area, but like by the time we were spending time with our kids in the evening, like our energy was drained, it just wasn't good. So it was like, how do we preserve energy for family time? How do we have dedicated time, quality time? Another area was in the area of recreation and fun. I literally just wrote things down like, think 80s and 90s, go old school. What did I like doing as a kid? Because it was like, what do I want to do? So I just wrote those things down to help me to be able to plan and set goals. So you can do these as words, you can do these as statements, just a few, nothing major. It could just be quick. And from there, so you've done each of your areas, you've jot down some just words or statements, we are going to get into start planning our goals. Now, this is a little bit of a 3 parts to it. So what you're going to do first is you're going to take each area and you're going to write a little statement or a mission for that area. Now, I am not a writer, so it's pretty basic for me. Example, for the area of my marriage and family, I wrote down, I want to cultivate togetherness. That just came to me as I was jotting down some things and it really stuck. So for me, whenever I see marriage and family and cultivate togetherness, just as a statement for that, it's a goal, it's a thing, but it's not the main goal. It's just to kind of encompass what I want to do. That just really stuck out. You could go a little bit more in depth. I kind of wrote like, to prioritize and cultivate spiritual growth in our family, to focus on togetherness, saving our energy for dedicated quality time and fun. So look, you can be brief or you can expand. Again, it's completely up to you. I just want you to write something that really encompasses that area of, by the end of the year, that's going to be sort of the measuring stick of what has happened. Because sometimes in the area of becoming rather than accomplishing, you don't really know how to measure it. So by having a mission or a statement or a word, it just helps. Last year, I think I just had like a word for each area, where this year I had a little bit more of a statement. Okay. So that's what you want to do. Write a little mission or a statement for each area. And then what you're going to do is number 2, you're going to write down 1 to 3 goals of what you want to become or accomplish in the area. So think to yourself at the end of this year or even in mid-year, what do I want to see take place? So, you could have like 1 becoming goal. You could have 2 accomplishing goals. You can have just 1 becoming goal, 1 accomplishing goal, whatever. This is where you want to be specific. Again, when it comes to like becoming, it's hard to like have a measuring stick to that. But I think as you begin to do this, you'll understand what resonates with you. But then you also might have very specific goals. Like for instance, last year reading, I had a specific goal of reading 30 books for the year. Okay. So I wrote that specific goal down in that area. Okay. So then from there, once you've wrote down 1 to 3 goals, I highly recommend that you do not go more than that. Even 1, if you want to do that. 3 at the most. I do highly recommend that. What you want to do from there is after you've set the goal, is you want to write 1 to 3 habits or actions to accomplish this, or at least set you in the process. Okay, what are the habits and actions? Now, this is where people can get a little bit confused. Sometimes they put the habit in the goal place, when it's actually just an action that gets you towards the goal. So that's why I'm having you split it up. So the example is, even for, cultivate togetherness in our family and a couple of things that we want to do. One of the actions or habits that we're going to do is one family night each week. We're going to plan this out. It's going to be set in the calendar. It's going to be a priority. So that is the habit or action. It's not necessarily the goal. We want to cultivate togetherness, and how we're going to do that, the action we're going to do is have a family night each week, a couple of other things as well. So after you have done that, all that for each of the areas that you want to focus on, again, start small. If you want to maybe work on one or two, this first part of the year, the first 3 months, or, into the mid-year, then do that. And then once you kind of have that set, you want to add a couple more. That's totally fine. Again, it's completely up to you. But from there, what I want you to do is make sure you have written down your goals. So maybe you've scribbled around and you've kind of done that. And now you figured out, okay, this is the area, these are the goals, these are the habits and actions that I want to do. You can make it pretty. You can put it on a board. You can put it in a book, as long as you write it down, because I want you to review it often. The more you touch a goal, the more likely it is to happen. I believe John Acuff said that, or someone else, okay? You need to be looking at your goals often, especially in the beginning. And here's why. You will actually see what is a true goal and what isn't. So for me, when I started to write things down for this year, I wrote some things down, and then the more I actually thought about it, I was like, oh, I don't know if that's a goal, a habit, So I either changed it up a bit or I totally got rid of it, because I understood what a true goal of what I wanted to do. It's very human nature for us to want to actually accomplish and do more, but by actually doing less, it's just eliminating things to be more sustainable, to find that we actually gain more in the process. Okay. So it's okay to sort of strip away here and there, but you're only going to know that if you are reviewing your goals often. So do this. Now, I know I just sort of skimmed over this part about planning and setting your goals, and that's because I've actually done a few episodes in the past that I go more into depth. So I'll link those, and you can go through that if you feel like you need a little bit more understanding, okay? I've also talked about creating a vision board, a word of the year. I mean, all of this is very helpful. It's not necessarily, I do encourage you to do that. Get a vision board, so that you can look at your goals often. I have a vision book so that I can take it with me anywhere, because I'm not in one space every day at the same time all the time. I have a book. I've made a vision board for each area of my life. They've had the goals. They have the habits that I'm going to do, and I look at it very often. As long as you are writing them down and reviewing them often, that's what I want you to do. That's key. Okay. If you want to make it pretty, if you want to make it very standard, whatever you want to do, that's going to get you to look at it often. And so that you can review and you can pursue. Review, pursue, review, pursue. You're just gaining ground every time you do that. So I hope you enjoyed these little episodes to kickstart you for this new year. I know it's the start of February, but look, in my mind, the first few months are still the beginning of the year. So yeah, we've got time. We've totally got time, and I'd rather you take this little by little. I would actually love to know what you thought about these last 2 episodes and if they helped you. And if so, please leave a comment or review. It helps us so much. And as always, I would love for you to subscribe so you're notified when new episodes go up. This is going to be a great year. I have some great episodes planned that I think you'll love. So yeah, I will see you next time.